I can tell you, for all of the current law students or new lawyers, and like I've heard up here, getting litigation experience will take you very far. So, taking on that work that nobody really wants to do, litigation is very tedious, the hours are long, but depending on where you are in your life, you may be in a position to do that. So if you are, take advantage of that, learn litigation, get into the trenches with that stuff, and you're going to be very marketable now and into the future, no matter what's happening with the economy. So I was able to land a position at a boutique IP firm in LA. They tout themselves as the oldest IP boutique firm in LA, full wider patent. I was their only, they were very partner heavy at the time, and they usually were. I was the only associate at the time. So there were like 20 attorneys, there were 2 of counsels, and the rest were partners, and then me. So, and most of the partners were patent attorneys, and so nobody liked to do trademark work. They gave me all of their trademark work, all of their non-patent work, and all of their litigation. So needless to say, I had no problem getting my billable hours, and I learned every area of IP. So that's the other thing about litigation and IP litigation. You don't have to have a science background to do. The only area you need a science background for is patent prosecution. Every other area of intellectual property law, you can have a degree in anything, and you just learn it. So I ended up doing patent litigation, copyright, trademark, trade secrets, and I, pretty much did all the enforcement, all the trademark prosecution work for the firm. And so I learned everything, which was amazing. And so that's why when I left there, I went to a larger firm. I did strictly trademark enforcement for them. And then with the pandemic, I was able to make a transition in-house. And I started remote in-house for my company actually back in 2020. In December of 2020 is when I started. I had this background of litigating, of basically practicing every area of IP law. And I go in-house to do this trademark enforcement counsel position, which is extremely narrow title, trademark enforcement counsel. But what I actually do in practice is global trademark and copyright and domain counsel, because I do all of those areas, and then a little bit of others as well, except for patent. But with that background, I was able to build our brand protection program, build up our just our processes with regard to protecting our IP, our non-patent IP, to the point where, you have to, just educating, and there was a lot of education, and it still is, but educate the company on, we have to protect our trademarks everywhere. We have to protect our copyrights everywhere. We have to, talking about things like trade dress, which trademark, that's a kind of a subset, a sub area of trademark law, but it's something that people don't talk about a lot. But because of that wealthy background in IP and that broad background in IP, I was able to kind of bring a holistic approach to it. So, the recommendation for Fortune 500 companies, small companies, medium-sized companies is register your trademarks everywhere you're doing business, manufacturing, have offices, whatever you're doing in other jurisdictions. Register your copyrights, see if you have trade dress that you can register. Register domain names. Companies forget about domain names. If you don't register domain names with your trademarks in them, somebody else is going to register them. And guess what? If one of your customers types in that in the URL, some other company's going to come up, not you. And so, that's another area where companies really should pay attention, domains. And then just putting a program in place where you're actually monitoring what's happening in trademark offices, in domains, if you can afford it. Brand protection is pretty expensive, hiring one of these third-party companies to do it, but it's definitely well worth it, because what you do is you end up getting ahead of a problem where you may end up having to buy your own IP back from a third party. No company wants to be in that position, right? So Sasha's probably help clients out of situations like that, where they're negotiating with someone else to buy their own IP back. So protecting all of that at the outset is way less expensive than trying to get it back later. So, you know, a lot of times companies, and even, you know, every now and then I have to have this discussion, oh, that's gonna be so expensive. Okay, but it's not more expensive than buying it back or somebody else infringing or what have you. So just kind of having those conversations. But that's the beauty of being in-house, is that instead of being outside counsel, which is what I was before 2020, and saying, hey, here's my advice, here's what it's gonna cost, let me know if you wanna go ahead and do it, I highly recommend it, and then I have to wait and see. Now I can just say, hey, this is what we're doing. We've got the budget, this is what we're gonna do, and I can just kind of run with it. So, you know, so that I really enjoyed, is like having more impact on the business.